Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 172 of Lonely Gods. I'm your host, David, and I'm joined here, as always, by Kate.
Hi, Dave.
Hi, Kate.
The air is cold outside. It's that kind of crisp spring air that makes your tummy hurt when you breathe it.
I'm upset because it is not cold here anymore.
Well, I mean, you live in Florida, so
We got a weird cold spike last week, and then it got warm again, and I don't like when it's warm.
yeah. I always laugh at you people when you get like the slightest bit of snow and panic. I've been seeing pictures from British friends on Facebook about like this tiny little dusting of snow and like the whole country is shut down apparently. I'm just like, are you fucking kidding me? Like we have snow up to your knees and the school bus still comes. Like oh boy.
Yeah.
You guys are all pansies.
It's the same thing like I've heard about people from friends and stuff that live in San Francisco, and it's like when it rains there, like the city shuts, like a hard rain, and everything shuts down. And it's like, motherfucker, rains all the time here. Like, you just deal with it. You get wet sometimes.
And like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Anyway, that's not Doctor Who.
No, none of it is. Talking about the weather is like literally the most boring thing we can do, but here we are.
So, Kate, have you watched any more Doctor Who?
I watched Last Christmas.
The Nick Frost Santa special?
That's correct, yes.
And what did you think?
I liked it. I was prepared to be pissed off at it because I was
Santa
like,
Claus
yes, I was like, you know, Stephen Moffat's Hallmark is having like a lot of like fairy tale things, a fairy tale feel to the point where a lot of the time his scripts don't make any sense. And I'm like, if this Santa Claus thing, like this is the last straw, but they, believe it or not, for those who haven't seen it, I won't spoil it, but believe it or not, they work it in so it's believable. And I expected a lot of like schmaltzy Christmas pap and Clara being clever and everything being oh so whimsical, but instead what I got was like this Inception-esque nested reality nightmare of a fucking terrible situation. So naturally I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would.
It's a very good story.
Yeah, since then John and I have mostly been focusing on finishing CSI. We just have the finale movie left, but we will be starting the next Doctor Who season.
There's a finale movie?
Probably within the week. Well, it was a TV movie.
I didn't even know that existed.
Yeah, at the end of season 15, they didn't really know if they were getting canceled or not. So like the finale is a finale, but it's not like totally definitive, and it wasn't like the big bring everyone back finale that people wanted. So after season 15, when they did get the word they were for sure canceled, then basically they aired a 2-hour TV finale movie around in the following like fall. So like around the time that a season 16 would have premiered, they aired that instead to tie it up.
Interesting.
But, yeah, anyway, so other than that, Doctor Who is about all we're watching. So I imagine we'll plow through the remainder of Peter Capaldi fairly quickly.
What? So you got what? 2 seasons left? Yeah.
Yeah, just 9 and 10. And then the show got canceled, so you know.
You're gonna have to get to it eventually, Kate.
What a shame. I will quit this podcast.
No, you won't.
Yes, I will.
No, you won't.
I'm leaving. I'm leaving now. So in Big Finish news, they've unveiled that Lady Christina D'Souza is getting her own series for some reason.
Who is that?
She was the one-off companion in Planet of the Dead, the David Tennant special, with the bus that ends up on the desert planet, and she's like the thief lady. If anybody remembers or cares about that.
I remember that, but I didn't. Why does her name have lady at the beginning?
Because she's from noble blood, I guess. She's a thief, a gentry thief, I guess.
I don't know how I feel about this.
I feel indifferent to it as well. I mean, I remember the character, but I don't really have any strong feelings about her. I am somewhat concerned that Big Finish's stable of spin-offs are no longer as unique as they once were.
Oh, you think?
Well, no, but I mean, you go back 10 years ago and you had things like Gallifrey counter. I mean, you still have Gallifrey and countermeasures, but Gallifrey countermeasures, Graceless, Jago and Lightfoot, like all of these Dalek Empire, like all the shows were like served their own niche and were distinct. But now, even though a lot of those shows are still around, you have a lot of things that are just ex female companions doing adventure things. And I don't know how many of those we need, because you have Charlie has her own show, River Song has her own show, Jenny from the Doctor's Daughter is getting her own show, and now there's this who's getting her own show. And I don't know, I feel like they're like, and actually, while we're at it, Brittany Summerfield, the OG, you know, still the queen, but you know, she's got her own show and has since Big Finish started. And I'm starting to feel like we don't really need 5 or 6 of these shows that are essentially the same template, especially with characters like Jenny or Christina D'Souza, Lady Christina, whatever, who only really appeared in one episode. And
yeah, that's weird. This is a weird one.
It is a weird one. I mean, I thought Tales from New Earth was a weird choice as well. I still do, but at least it's a unique character, so they can do it. I mean, they're just taking the setting, you know, so they can populate it with their own plots and their own characters. Actually, no, and come to think of it, there's also Vienna, if you want to count that as a Doctor Who spinoff, even though technically it's kind of not. So yeah, I just feel like they all kind of fulfill basically the same purpose, and there doesn't need to be that many of them. And it's
Charlie had her own spinoff. I don't know how I feel about that either.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I feel like. I mean, especially with the new series, it almost feels like they're licensing out, you know, anything they can. Essentially, I mean, the first new series stuff I think was new series Unit, which was distinct, and they had Churchill Companion Chronicles essentially, which was distinct.
Unit sounds like a good.
Yes, okay, yes, that's what I'm saying. That and Churchill were good ideas, and Torchwood was a good idea.
We have just right off the bat we can talk about 2 different spinoffs. We can talk about new series Unit. We could also talk about something like Jago and Lightfoot, where it feels like it's this group, it's this team, it's these people that would have adventures anyway.
Exactly.
So we're following them. Whereas, why would I want to follow a companion after they leave the Doctor?
Well, I mean, I think some of them obviously have the strength of their own, you know.
Well, I do too. When you have someone like Romana who can go on,
Romana and Leela on Gallifrey, absolutely.
Yeah, but
they're also in a more political thriller arena. They're not having the same kind of adventures they would have had with the Doctor.
No, so like I don't know if I want to follow these characters on a similar type adventure, like.
No, and I mean that's why I'm thinking. Like at this point, I feel like if they want to have Lady Christina and Jenny and River and Charlie and I think what they should do is
kind of makes sense.
Well, River does make sense, but I'm starting to think like even River feels redundant with Benny because they're both archaeologists, they're both sassy, you know, they're both flirty, and I'm just thinking like if they want to have all these characters on their own shows, maybe they should just team them up like heroes for hire instead of having their own things. Like I feel like it's too much of a muchness, and I think they're starting to kind of overload the schedule and dilute things when you're putting out what is essentially the same shit.
The real question is do they get their own show or do they get their own miniseries? Because like miniseries, you know what, fine, like totally cool with that. That sounds like fun, but I don't need an ongoing thing.
Well, you know, it's hard to say because, I mean, I think it all depends on obviously how well these things sell because like, but I mean, Big Finish, like everything, Big Finish, like at least nowadays, they don't come out and just call something a miniseries. It's always such and such volume 1, you know, and maybe there's a volume 2, maybe there's not. But I wouldn't be surprised if both Jenny and Christina kept going because, I mean, Charlie's already had 2 box sets and I think a 3rd one is coming. River's already up to like 3 or 4.
Again, River makes the most sense to me.
River does make the most sense to me as well, and of course Benny's been going for 20 fucking years, but she's such a staple at this point. Like getting rid of her would be foolish.
But like, I love Charlie, but I don't know if I want to see her on her own.
No, I don't think so either.
Because it was her interplay with the Doctor that I really enjoyed in their relationship.
Yeah. It her own show has gotten kind of mixed reception, but I mean it's the same thing with like doing those Doctor new series chronicles where it's just like either Nick Briggs for Eccleston or a guy off YouTube for Tennant and Smith doing things or narrating these stories with doctors that are alive, and it's like it seems to me like it's starting to get to the point where they're, like I said, they're just trying to license anything and squeeze as much out of the new series license as possible. And I hope that over time, because really we're only about 3 years into them having the new series license, and on Big Finish's production time scale, that's really not that long. So I hope that over time these things kind of settle down and we kind of weed out some things that maybe don't work or weren't as popular, because it's too much of the same, and it's too much too fast. Like nobody can keep up with this much shit every month.
Yeah. Well, and like I understand Charlie. She's a fan favorite. She helped like really launch Big Finish, because that was the big thing with a lot of the Eighth Doctor stories. And she was, the first companion.
She was his first companion. Yeah, she wasn't Big Finish's first original companion, but she definitely took off like a rocket with Paul McGann, and it definitely brought a lot of interest to the company early on, because he was the current Doctor and they were making new episodes when there was nothing on TV.
Yes.
So I understand being attached to her, but the thing is too is like Charlie's had a long life as a companion. Like she's had she's had 34 monthly range episodes, plus a couple of companion chronicles and short trips, plus her own box set. Like I don't know. I feel like after that many episodes, we're probably good. Like.
When like I understand some of these characters, but like Lady Christina's just a weird one to me.
Well, I mean, yeah, and I'm trying to think like, yes, she's a one-off character, but I mean, so is Jago and Lightfoot. But again, the difference to me is that Jago and Lightfoot offer a very distinct setting and a distinct group of characters and traits that aren't offered by anyone else. And the other thing too is that whereas it might be one story. Theirs was 3 hours. You got more time to know them.
Yeah, like it was.
And it's like how many. It's like you've got a strong, witty female who's going on space adventures, and it's like that could be could be fucking anybody.
I barely remember her.
Yeah, me too. She didn't strike me as like so much of a unique companion that she would, need her own show. And I mean, I'm starting to think like she is also going to be in the 10th Doctor Chronicles box set narrated by some guy. And I'm starting to think that when they brought the actress back for that, they decided that she was, they probably liked working with her and wanted to expand her role or something like that. Like, I don't think it was just out of the blue they said, let's do that. So, it's probably came out of that. But I'm not really optimistic for it, again, because I don't, even if I liked the character, I don't think we need another one of those at the present time. And also, like, the press release mentioned something like that they're going to be doing the Slitheen with her, and I don't know why. Like, I don't understand why anyone would want like the Slitheen. That's not really gonna.
That's the only thing I'm not looking forward to about when we get to watching the Sarah Jane Adventures.
Yeah, well, the Sarah Jane Adventures actually handles them better. Believe it or not, the kids show has more maturity with them than the grown-up show does.
They're not just farting joke machines.
No, not really. They don't really do the fart humor too much on Sarah Jane, but it's Patrick Swayze and fucking Slovene.
So,
Other news. You got kind of sidetracked about Big Finish drowning in spinoffs. Other news is that apparently, according to the latest podcast, trilogies, the trilogy format that they've been doing since, well, almost the last decade, basically, they're going to start phasing that out. And I don't think it's going to be gone completely, but I don't think they're going to have the monthly schedule organized into trilogies every year. I think maybe they'll just do them every now and again, because the phrase was faded out, not canceled or stopped. I am a little worried about that, just because I hope that it doesn't mean that the monthlies aren't going to have ongoing plots anymore and just be one-off adventures, and they're going to shunt everything that's important into box sets, because that's too bad, because the monthlies are Big Finish's spine for 20 years, bread and butter for 20 years. And so, I hope it continues to be, worthy of being the flagship, because when you think about it, a lot of the important things, like when they gave Colin Baker a proper, last story, that was a box set. The first time Adric came back, that was a box set.
Are you talking about like came back for stories, or came back?
No, the actor. When the actor first came back to Big Finish, that was a box set. These are things that would have been, yeah, but I mean, these are the things that would have been folded into the monthlies before, and now they're separating all the big events are all being in box sets now. So yeah, I hope that this move doesn't further diminish the importance of the monthlies, and eliminate ongoing character threads and stuff like that. I mean, on the other hand, they are still going forward with their new arrangement of having a different producer for each Doctor. So I do think that with that in mind, it's totally possible that they'll develop ongoing plot threads even further. It's just the release schedule might be more random. So I don't know. We'll see what happens, I guess.
Maybe they'll just start cycling through them.
Well, but that's what they have done, though, is each Doctor got the schedule for a year is each Doctor gets a trilogy to themselves. There's a multi-Doctor trilogy around a certain concept, and then the 13th special release of the year is one of those 4-story anthologies. So I don't know. I don't know how they would cycle them otherwise. I mean, before they adopted the trilogies, they kind of just
Doctor.
Yeah. I mean, before they adopted the trilogy format, it was kind of like that, but it wasn't as regular as 567, 567, 567, like you might think it would be.
If you've got ongoing plot going threads, that's a worse release schedule than comic books.
Yeah,
you're I'm sitting here every month waiting for a 20-page issue.
Yeah, I mean, I think they have been trying to make the monthlies more accessible, because ever since they hit 200, that's around the point when a lot of the long-running plot threads kind of came to an end. And most of the time when there's been an arc, it's usually just been across one trilogy or maybe two.
Well, to be fair, do you want another Richter syndrome?
No, but when I think of the 7th Doctor's Elder Gods arc and Hex and and even dating before the trilogies, with Charlie or Evelyn Smythe with Colin Baker. Yeah, I like the kind of serialized storytelling. I just want it to be done well. I mean, yeah, the Richter syndrome thing was mishandled. I think that if they wanted to have Nyssa back for some reason, what they should have done is just have her back and not have built in this, plot arc into it, because then I wouldn't be wondering when the next advancement is going to be. It's they're the one that stuck that flag in the ground and didn't stick to it.
Yeah.
Well, but anyway.
Okay, speaking of Nyssa.
Yeah. Speaking of Nyssa.
Why don't we just roll directly into our 2 stories only one of them has Nyssa, but our 2 stories for this week. The first of which is the Big Finish special, the Five Companions.
Yeah, as I mentioned last week, Five Companions is one of the December bonus releases. That's not part of the monthlies, and it's one of only two of them that they decided to make subscriber exclusive. The way that the bonuses worked is that normally they would be, you know, when you subscribed for a year, you would just get the bonus Christmas special release for free. And for non-subscribers, they would be available just as a single purchase. And we've done some of them before. We did like Stormcrow with Tom Baker. We've covered before, and Return to the Web Planet was another one. But this one and another one called Four Doctors, what they made like literally subscriber exclusive. So like you have to take a subscription out if you want to choose this as a freebie. And there's no other way to get it legitimately. So that was a pain in the ass, but $100 later, here we are. We've got the Five Companions.
So this is an interesting story, especially when it comes down. Like I did enjoy the story, but
you sounded very dubious. Like, this is interesting.
I'm very dubious of how they chose the Five Companions.
Yes. So just to get a bit of housekeeping out of the way first, this story takes place during Five Doctors. It's the Doctor mentions that he had escaped from the Master and the Cyberman using the transmat thing. So I guess between leaving the Death Zone and turning up in the Gallifrey Council chamber, he got sidetracked to this story. Which means that their choices of our companions were limited to A, people who were alive, and B, not already busy with Five Doctors.
Yes. Well, especially because we're doing this chronologically on the Doctor Who timeline. Like, it's just very weird for Nyssa to show up again.
Yeah.
So did this story come out before or after the Richter's arc?
That is a good question. I will find that out for you.
She is like dead at this point. It's fine. It's time travel and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, when Nyssa turns up, I mean, she is clearly at a point where she's left the Doctor, but I mean, it's obviously it can't have been that long because she's not older, and she hasn't left. So this came out December 2011. So the Richter's arc would have been in progress, but it wouldn't have been over yet.
Okay, so we have Nyssa, we have Ian, we have Steven.
Yep.
We have Polly. Yes. Which is a little interesting. And then most interesting of all, we have Sarah Kingdom for some goddamn reason.
But not the real Sarah Kingdom, the Haunted House Sarah Kingdom version.
Yes. Wait, how do you know?
Well, she said, Steven is like, how the hell are you alive? And she's like, well, I'm not actually that Sarah Kingdom, but I'm everything she was. So that to me says that she's like, because if you remember, like at the end of the trilogy where she was the quad, whatever, she was the Haunted House, like she was attained to like some sort of corporeal form. So
I feel like besides that one story we got out of that Sarah Kingdom arc with the giant clock at the center of the universe.
Mm-hmm.
More Sarah Kingdom stories defeat the purpose of why Sarah Kingdom was good.
Yeah, I know, I agree. I feel like this is an exception though, because this is obviously not the original Sarah Kingdom. So
at that point, I would say, but your exception is basically a caveat because we could have just picked a different companion that would have had more of an impact.
I agree. I mean, I do like the moment where Steven comes face to face with her again, because clearly, like both from the audios and the TV series, her dying in the horrible way she did really cut him up. So putting her back with him is interesting.
I would just rather have someone else that it feels like had more of an impact.
I mean, I'm inclined to agree with you, but like I said, there is some dramatic worth to be wrought out of it, especially because they already had this duplicate Sarah Kingdom lying around from Companion Chronicles that they hadn't done anything with.
So I'll say it again, and we'll get into the story here in just a moment. But I did like this story, but it really did feel like, oh, here are the 5 people we have in the studio this month. Let's write a story for them.
Well, I mean, yeah, to me, Nissa is especially the odd one out, where it's like, here's 4 nostalgic 60s companions meeting up with the 5th Doctor, like, to the point where, like, Steven and Ian still don't even know about regeneration, and it's, and you get all your warm, fuzzy nostalgia feels, and it's like, oh, also here's Nissa, because we haven't seen her in forever. Like, Jesus Christ.
And like, I get having one of the companions that, like, can do all the mental gymnastics that the Doctor can, like Nissa, but...
And, I mean, I guess... I suppose, but, I mean, you could have done that with, like... Why not bring back, like, Liz or something, someone we haven't seen in a while. I mean, granted, I kind of understand the idea of, like, wanting to have someone who was actually a companion of the Doctor in question, so they can, like, confirm, yes, it's him, and kind of get that whole, like, are you or aren't you shtick out of the way. But, I mean, even before they run into Nissa, Ian and Steven seem to kind of be going along with it, so.
Yeah. So I like this story. We're dealing with Sontarans and Daleks.
Yes, it's like this. So basically, the 5 companions of the title and the Doctor find themselves in basically this giant mishmash of, like, derelict spaceships and space stations and whatever. And it's a pocket zone of the Death Zone, like a separate area of the playing board, I guess. And because it's an artificial construct, like, without being able to use a TARDIS to get out, you can't. So the Daleks are low on power, the Sontarans are getting ornery, and so everybody's basically searching for a way out. And the Daleks and Sontarans, there's also dinosaurs there for some reason, which I forgot about. This is kind of a kitchen sink story. So anyway, yeah, everybody's trying to survive and trying to find a way out, and eventually the Daleks and the Sontarans try and team up and use a thing to rip through the thing. But if they do that, it'll cause an implosion, and that's bad. So we have to make them not do that.
Yeah,
basically, and that's pretty much it. Then they save the day, and the companions go back to where they're supposed to be, and the Doctor carries on for the second half of 5 Doctors.
It was a fun story.
It is a fun story. I mean, it's not a complicated plot.
No, we got a lot of really awesome character moments between the companions that you don't normally see, especially, like, Ian and Steven's reunion and, like, discussion was beautiful, and, like, I loved it so much.
Yeah, they're really good together when they're I mean, because those are the first 2 companions that we're introduced to during the story, and they're running around alone with each other for a bit, dodging Daleks and all that. And I should mention that the companions are all after they've left the Doctor. So, like, Stephen, Polly, Ian, they all are like their real world age, essentially. But yeah, no, their interaction is great. And it's funny to think, because on TV they only had, like, 1 episode together, because Steven's introduced in the last part of the chase, and then Ian and Barbara leave in the last part of the chase. So it was really kind of a high buy on TV.
Yeah.
So it's nice to see them here, and Peter Purvis and William Russell are always great, and they're fun to listen to. They work well together.
Yes, they really are fantastic. And we haven't heard from them in a while.
What? No. I mean, we had Stephen and Vicky in Secret History because of the monk, but Ian we haven't heard from in quite a long time.
Ages.
He's always fucking welcome, though.
William Russell is retired.
Yes.
And
we've listened to all of his.
Yeah, so we've listened to all of those audios.
And we love him.
Yes, we do love him. And I mean, I liked Polly and I liked Sarah. It was just, Sarah being there was just weird, I found. Like, yeah, we got a couple of good character moments, but it was just an odd choice overall.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I like Polly. And I like that.
I like Polly too.
I like the way that the conversation she has with the Doctor, where she kind of doubts how useful she was during her time with him, and he kind of says that you were inspiring because you always had such a strong moral compass, and even if you weren't a warrior woman or whatever, that's okay.
I mean, the literally the best part of the story is the Doctor the fifth Doctor interacting with all of these old companions.
Absolutely. I always like comparing old companions with doctors that other than their own.
Yes.
I think it's an interesting idea. And I think it's a nice selection of past companions. I'm not as opposed to Sarah Kingdom as you are. I could take or leave her, but Ian and Polly and Steven are all good. And I mean, Nissa is kind of a lame choice just because we've had her so much. But I mean, she's not bad either. I mean, Sarah Sutton's always good.
We're just upset because of what we just been through.
You're awful muffled. What the hell are you saying?
Sorry, I said we're just upset about Nissa because of what we've just been through.
Well, yeah, but I mean, even if you like the Richter's arc, like Sarah Sutton has been in probably more Fifth Doctor audios than anybody. So even by then, even if you were listening to things as they came out in Big Finish's order, you still would have seen a lot of her.
Yeah.
But and the other thing too is like, but overall, like I don't expect a lot from a story like this because it's just meant to be a fun celebration story, the same way that Five Doctors is, because it's no pun intended, it's kind of a companion piece to Five Doctors, and it keeps that same nostalgic celebratory tone. And
it's
it
only
includes
an hour.
Yeah, it's only an hour. It includes companions that were not in Five Doctors. Obviously, the Daleks and the Sontarans are both very popular enemies who either weren't in Five Doctors at all or didn't get much screen time. So yeah, it's kind of a supplement to the anniversary, and it's nice, it's fun.
I really like the Sontarans too. The more we get of them, the more I like them.
I always have fun with them too. I mean, I definitely get real fucking tired of the bumbling comedy Sontarans on the new series a lot of the time, but I do like Dan Starkey as an actor playing the Sontarans, and anytime he does Big Finish, it's always good.
Yeah. So,
remember that zombie Sontaran episode?
Yes,
that was cool.
Thinking about that was cool.
So that's pretty much it for Five Companions. I mean, I don't know what else to say about it. It's fun. Is it worth $100? No. But if you're gonna get if you're gonna get a 12-month subscription anyway, you could definitely do worse with your choice of gift. That's for sure.
I was gonna say, well, Kate, it's not like you spent $100 on this.
No, that's true.
So
I did get 12 other audios with it. So
yeah.
But I'm just saying, like, don't take out a subscription just to get this. I'm saying, like, if you want to pick it as your free gift, it's good, but it's not like it's not a must-have to the point where you need to take out a 12-month sub just to have it.
No, it's just it's like the Five Doctors, just a very fun story, but not one of any real consequence.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously the Five Doctors is definitely a DVD you should have in your Doctor Who collection, but this is very, it's additional fun, but it's absolutely not necessary, and it's not.
You don't have. It's not like you don't get a moment with like the robot or anything.
No,
the assassin robot,
the Rastan warrior robot.
Yes.
Oh yeah, I forgot there were I keep forgetting. Like, I know I just said that earlier, but it's like I just keep forgetting there was fucking dinosaurs in this story, and I don't know why.
They're not important.
They're really not. So I think they try and sick them on the Daleks at one point. That's about it. That's all.
Lastly, this week we have Ringpullworld, which is a Turlo companion chronicle that shows it has the return of Huxley and the novelizers of Verbatim 6.
Yes, this was actually their first appearance in the Companion Chronicles, or, well, anywhere. They came back for Find and Replace, which is a Joe Companion Chronicle, and since we're doing this in order of Doctor, we listened to that one first. But whatever.
Whatever. I enjoyed the story too. it was very interesting. Basically, the Doctor and his companions have discovered what they call a ring pool world. Essentially,
it's on this like abandoned planet, and they find this can, and inside the can, because the can is like bigger on the inside, so they find us there's a solar system in the can, and they and the three novelizers that are following them around and annoying them to death like get sucked into the system in the can, and Turlo, well-meaningly, even though the race inside the can is aggressive, wants to open the ring pull and free them. And the Doctor's like, "Don't do that," and he's like, "I'm going to do it anyway," and then he gets in trouble. Because like approaching the ring pull is like considered sacrilege to the aliens inside. So they get mad at Turlo when they recapture him. Like he basically convinces them about like the outside world, and so they get interested in that. And yeah, so in his jail cell, Turlo and Huxley together like narrate basically how we got into the situation, and then they give us three possibilities for how we would get out, or how the situation would resolve, I guess. So the first possibility, because the novelizers, I guess, have this ability to kind of look at what they would call like the story threads and see sort of probabilities and possibilities. The first scenario ends with Turlo being executed for blasphemy, so that's not good. The second scenario is where the Doctor goes and opens the ring pull himself, and because it actually is kind of destructive, that's not a good thing. So the Doctor and his companions would have been fried if they had tried. And then the third scenario, Huxley like lets Turlo sort of see the threads, and he narrates it himself, where basically they get the aliens to be interested in the outside world. They go to the ring pull, and basically the aliens open it and get blown away. The alien leaders, and so everybody gets like burped out back into the normal universe, and the Doctor and his companions are safe, and most of the aliens are fine except for their tyrannical captains, I guess, in their mothership. But that's no big deal. And then that way they can fob off the novelizers on being interested in this new star system that no one's ever narrated before,
and race of people that no one's seen in forever.
Exactly. So yeah, and then and the story ends with the guards coming to get Turlo out of his cell, and I mean, the choice is yours. What possibility will happen? But seeing as how we're going to start the next TV season, and the Doctor and his companions have not burned to a crisp, nor has Turlo been keelhauled, probably choice number 3.
Well, there could have been another possibility too. These were the most likely outcomes.
Yes,
not the only outcomes, but this was a very entertaining story. I love when they get all
meta
and intricate about time and probability and possibility.
Yeah, I mean, I've enjoyed both Ring Pull and Find and Replace.
This is a really good introduction. Now that you say that, of the
novelizer,
I want more of them.
I mean, like you said, it's meta, but I like it's a cool way to work the narration of the Companion Chronicles format into the story in real time.
Yeah,
and that's neat. And of course, I always find it funny, just because the novelizers obviously annoy anyone they come into contact with. So there's always good.
You're infuriating. They're great. I love them.
Yeah, I still like Find and Replace a lot better than this, but
I need to listen to it again at this point.
Because I mean, Find and Replace has fucking Iris and the novelizers, and Joe being touching. So, but no, I mean this is good too, and I always find, not just with the novelizers, but just in Companion Chronicles and short trips in general, I find Turlo's POV very, very, very amusing.
Yes.
Like,
I like Turlo so much, and it sucks that we really don't get a lot of him in the show.
No, I mean, unless it's an episode specifically centered on him, he pretty much just kind of lurks around being sly.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's just when you get into his head with a short trip or a Companion Chronicle, like he always portrays Tegan as just unreasonably snotty, and he sees the Doctor as somebody who is well-meaning but doesn't understand him.
Yeah.
And you know, and because Huxley is linked to the novelizers that are narrating for Tegan and the Doctor, they, you know, he gets in this story, Turlough gets a little bit of a window into kind of how they see him, and yeah, it's a nice character beat where he's kind of like, you know, they still don't trust Tegan still doesn't trust me. She thinks I'm greedy all the time. The Doctor is kind of disappointed that I'm not listening to him. And yeah, I mean, I like it when they have Turlough come into conflict with the Doctor, just because it.
We have a great moment between Huxley and Turlough about, you know, how Turlough met the Doctor, and Huxley's very accusatory, and he's like, you know, you came on to kill the Doctor, and Turlough's like, I was misled, like I was in a bad situation, I was misled, and and it's like Huxley glossed over the fact that Turlough tried to kill himself so he could not kill the Doctor. Like, that was a really intense moment.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, it is funny because there's that thread of Huxley kind of just like not so subtly mentioning that he was really hoping to be narrating the Doctor, but he kind of got stuck with Turlough because his colleague got to the Doctor first.
Yes.
Which I thought was kind of funny, but I mean, I like it when Turlough has conflict with the Doctor, because while he's not an out and out bad guy, he does very much have his own mindset, and he's a bit more of a pragmatic and scrappy character than the Doctor is. And I think that even though they're on the same side now, you know, that would naturally lead to them butting heads in a way that feels more natural to me than Adric whining that he's not allowed to do math all day or whatever. So, you know, I always like it when they use those facets of his character. I mean, same thing with really any of the companions that Big Finish works with, is using facets of the character that make total sense, but that the TV series didn't utilize as much as maybe they should have.
I also really like the moment in the story towards the end. We talked about, you mentioned how the novelizers go to follow this new galaxy and stuff, but you also gloss over the fact that they basically said, fuck this noise, like, this is too, traveling with the Doctor and his companions is too fucking dangerous, like,
yes,
we value our own skins too much to like keep doing this. We need to go find something safer to do that still has interesting story threads.
Yeah, you know, I also got a kick out of the fact that apparently they charge for their services, which is like, just Turlough's like, you're not getting a fucking penny out of me, no way.
Like, I don't ask you to do this. You're here of your own will. You're not charging me, asshole.
I love Turlough.
I do love Turlough. So yeah, so this was a good story as well.
Yep, I mean, I would say they're pretty much on par with each other in different ways. There's not really a specific standout this week, but both good.
Yes, both good, which is a good place to be in.
Pretty much, which will all come to an end very soon.
Oh, what? Okay, so then what's up for next week, Kate?
What's up for next week is Control Z, because I just erased the line on my schedule that I was actually planning to look at. So what's actually up for next week is we're beginning season 21 of the TV series with the premiere Warriors of the Deep.
Is this bad? Is this why you said this?
You know, you'll just have to watch and find out.
Find out.
Yep.
Well, as Kate knows, she'll get a message when I make an opinion.
With subject RE giant ants with people legs.
We'll never get that again. No. I don't think we'll ever find anything as ridiculous as giant ants with people legs.
Well, I mean, at this point, it's like a 5.5-year-old meme, but I don't care. It's giant ants with people legs. Yeah, so that's that. Aren't you happy there's not like 150 audios between 5 Doctors in the next season?
Well, I mean, if they're all of the quality of Five Companions and Ringpullworld, I guess it would depend on how good the next episode in the season, the next story in the season is.
That's true.
Because if it's garbage, then I'd much rather have a bajillion audios.
Well, we'll see how true that statement is next week.
All right. So thank you, everyone. We will be back next week with Warriors of the Deep. Is this related to the other of the Deep story we had?
I
don't remember what it was.
We didn't have another of the Deep story on TV. There was Phantoms of the Deep, but that was a Fourth Doctor audio.
I thought there was like Fury of the Deep or something.
No, you're right. Fury from
the Deep. Yeah.
No, it's not related, but it is related to another story.
Is it no more gods and no more fish people?
It's not that one either. It's a John Pertwee story it's tied to.
Is it the crab things?
Just watch and find out next week. Goodbye.
Bye. All right. Bye, everyone.